So I was looking at the news today and all the firings that happened. Yeah, so you got Chargers, Jets, Jacksonville, Houston, Atlanta, and Detroit are all going to have new coaches next year. So there'll be tons of fantasy implications.
I don't keep track of any guys on Instagram or anything that are hooligans.
Right. Well, I mean, speaking of that, like, I don't know about you, but on my fantasy team, I have a code where I won't bring in any guys. There's certain teams that I don't like and I don't want to root for them. So I don't have a lot of Cowboys on my team over the years. Maybe had one or two, but I try to stay away from those bad character guys like what you're talking about, because I mean, guys get hurt and they let you down all the time. But then when the guys are getting suspended for bad behavior, carrying guns around, or, COVID violations, or beating up their kids or whatever. Yeah, I don't like having those guys on my team. So when I'm drafting, I'm aware of the headlines and, who's done what. And who could potentially just out of nowhere get suspended for some crazy random thing, like Kareem Hunt, that whole thing. 1 minute you think you got a great player, and next thing you know, oh, he beat some woman up and he's suspended. Well, there's Haskins. He got cut before the year was over, the QB for the WTFs. He was with strippers and a hot tub and all that kind of stuff.
Perfect. So I got a question for you.
Okay.
Season's over.
Yeah.
Who's the league MVP?
Everybody's saying it's Aaron Rodgers. He seems to be peaking at the right time. And I mean, you could argue a lot of different people, but I think he's been pretty hot the whole season, pretty steady. I think he threw 48 touchdown passes. So
he was my quarterback, and I had him with 18 touchdowns, Adams.
Yeah.
So I know his production, and I was pretty happy with never seeing the ball goes down. But then there's also Henry at 2,000. So that's what I was kind of wondering, if you would think that Henry would a good runner up or potentially a bump out. It's interesting, nice to see what the league does, but league might give it to old man, no personality Rodgers.
Well, it's a quarterback-driven league, and I don't think the Packers would be anything without Rodgers. The Titans, they still have guys that contribute.
Guys who can contribute? Yeah. Receiver, number 11, Brown. That guy, you need to have him on your fantasy. If you can get him, get him. He's a stud. He caught that game-saving reception yesterday for, the field goal win. Beast. He also caught another touchdown in the earlier part of the game too. So.
He's great. Yeah, absolutely. And Tannehill's a good QB, a solid, not spectacular, but great numbers. You can. A lot of people were streaming him all year long. He seemed to be available on the wire, but not a bad.
I would have only picked him up if I had Brown as my receiver. If I had Brown as my receiver, I would definitely have him as my backup quarterback. Now, here's a question for you: do you keep two quarterbacks on your roster throughout the year, or do you dump your quarterback, your second quarterback, after your first quarterback finishes his bye?
Well, because we're in an auction, you got to pay for your players. So I got Lamar Jackson for $3, and I got Brady for $6. And I held on to them both from the previous season because I didn't know. I thought Lamar was going to be as good this year as he was last year. And it seemed like for the first half of the year, he was having trouble. And then the last half of the year, he lived up to the billing. And I thought also that Brady was going to light it up because he was changing teams to a team that was loaded with talent. And he ended up throwing 40 touchdowns this season. So that's elite. And I hung on to those guys, both of them, for 2 years. I keep two. I don't know this offseason if I'm going to keep both of them. I have too many other good players that I got for good bargains. It might be hard for me to hang on to both quarterbacks. If, because I don't want to let go of Dalvin Cook. I don't want to let go of, I might let go of DK Metcalf for 15 because he kind of faded down the stretch. I got Justin Jefferson for $1. So that's a good keeper.
That's a keeper. Yeah.
That's a good keeper. And I got Antonio Gibson for $9.
He played yesterday.
Which is a bargain. He didn't really grab the starting role until about week 8.
Mm-hmm. And he played yesterday too. So that's good to see him back on the field. But yeah, like in my sense too, like I had Rodgers as my quarterback, but with I'll pay more attention to bye weeks, I think, as I like dive into this year. But I also picked up Bridgewater in my draft as like the, say, like 16th pick or whatever, 14th pick, like way down the. Good to have him for week 5. However, right when week 6 came around, he was dumped right away, and I picked up somebody else in a PPR league. I needed my receivers. At that point, I was probably looking for a running back because Chubb was down with an injury. So my strategy is that if I don't need a quarterback, I can always find a Tannehill on the waiver wire because I don't have to pay. Like it's not like your league where you pay up front. My league, it's just clears out every year kind of thing. And if my quarterback, like I was fortunate enough this year, has a bye week early in the draft, which I didn't really know when I was drafting to pick a second quarterback, but I think I would probably pick best player up on my final, like say like 14 or 15 spots rather than a quarterback if my quarterback had a later bye in the season, because I could always find out someone who's hot.
Yeah, well, how does Fab Money affect a guy like Tannehill? Would you be able to get him for $0 or $1?
Yep, he was probably on the waiver wire for $0 on a Thursday.
Wow.
Yeah, but like I said, I would not pick him up unless if I had Brown. I would have probably picked up somebody else that would have been more productive, and I would probably look through my roster to see. So like I might have picked up Cousins because I had Thielen.
Yeah.
Right. I might have picked up. I probably would have maybe picked up Teddy Bridgewater, right? Because I had Anderson, right? So, like I probably would have looked at that kind of measurement rather than trying to figure out, just so I can get those 1-2 punch hits where you can get
stack
like
the stack.
Yeah.
One thing I am going to do next year, and I didn't do this year, but I'm always trying to add to my techniques, little game within the game thing, is I'm going to look to see if I'm trying to decide between who to draft. I'm going to look to see who are playing crap teams week 15 and 16. Because it's one thing to get into the playoffs, and then the next thing you know, Dalvin Cook's playing the Bears, and all of a sudden he's not giving you 30 points a game, he's giving you 12. Stuff like that.
Minnesota yesterday didn't even play him. They played Matheson, and he destroyed the Lions.
Right. Well, unfortunately, I don't know if you know this, but Dalvin Cook's father died, so he was gone from the team. But I had Madison on my bench. I've had him on my bench for a couple of years, and every time I've needed to use him, he stunk it up.
Mm-hmm.
But yesterday, you're saying he did great.
Well, he was running against Swiss cheese defensive right. Detroit. Yeah. But yeah, I do agree with you. Like you said earlier, the choosing your fantasy players and teams you are interested in watching also brings, and we talked about this when I first started fantasy about 7 years ago. You said, well, pick people you want to pick because you don't really want to be paying attention to some scores and some games that you don't really are interested in. So I always kind of like picked on that merit too, where it's like not only going for production, but try and get those productive players that are playing on teams that are, one, could be on cable television, and two, like are producing. So
I don't want to watch a Bengals game, if I don't have to, if I don't have a reason to, and I don't want to give myself a reason to watch a Bengals game. So I'm not going to pick Bengals. That's I don't want to watch Dallas. They're on all the time anyways. I'm not going to pick from Dallas if I can help it. Yeah. And then people who break their kids' arms, they're not going to be on my fantasy team. And it's good to have a code. I think you got to live by a code.
Yeah, and I think when it comes like at the end of the day, it's all if we don't really know how every week's going to produce. So like having people that you actually respect, I think is also as good as just finding people that also produce.
Yeah. So you as a Lions fan respect Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams. So they're on your fantasy team. That's nice.
Well, like I said, like I think those guys are classy. Hey, did you hear that Prater actually got a bunch of people in Detroit free beer or like all of like Michigan like free Bud Light because of like his record breaking 50-plus 50-yard kicks on the
No,
weekend?
no,
Yeah.
I did not.
Yeah, he had a bet with Bud Light. Party Man Prater had a bet with Bud Light that if he broke the record for over 50-yard plus field goals,
Yeah.
everyone in Michigan gets like free Bud Light.
Wow.
And it happened. So I tried to find some information on this. Like, is Prater going out as a party? Like, is he going to have his like everyone get beer on this day, and I'm going to
And
I'm going to
that's it.
retire?
But why would you retire if you can kick 50-yard field goals? I wouldn't retire.
He's probably not going to retire, but someone will pick him up. I don't
Yeah.
think Detroit's going to stick around with him. He's a free agent. He'll be asking money because he could produce, but
Yeah. Maybe he'll want to go to a team that wins.
or
So,
parties, guys that party he will go to. He'll go to the best college town, so he'll go to like somewhere close to Gainesville. He'll go
California, somewhere in LA. The Chargers always need a kicker. Chronically, Minnesota always needs a kicker, but he won't go there.
No, it's too cold.
But good chatting with you. And next week, do this again.
Okay, sounds good, Sean.
All right. Have a good one.